What is going on, guys? We are back for another episode of our trade breakdown series. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through exactly how I traded QQQ puts for over a 400% gain in just under an hour. I'm going to be walking you through my step-by-step process inside this trade and showing you the exact steps that I took to identify it and how you can do so in the future. Let's get into it right now. All right, what is going on, guys? In today's trade recap video, we are going to be walking through this QQQ short trade from this past Friday, which was the Friday, July 27th. I'm going to be walking you guys through my exact process on this trade. So first off, in order to kind of set the tone for this trade, you guys need to understand what type of day it was. So on QQQ, this is one of my favorite names to trade, guys. We actually had a gap up day overnight going into this. So if you might remember this day, it was kind of a really funky trading day early in the day. I actually got stopped out on 2 longs this morning. And then if we look at this trade, guys, you can see how we gapped up overnight, right? We had a pretty big gap up. I think it's about 1.3%, guys, from this 378 zone all the way to this 384 area. In order to kind of set the tone for this, guys, we need to look at the daily, right? And you can obviously see we had major resistance at that 384 zone. Guys, coming into this trade this afternoon, I want to first off kind of put some context on this. We printed a lower high, right? So I always like to go back and annotate these trades. And as you guys can see, in the afternoon, we actually printed a lower high on QQQ, right? And when we notice kind of the broader trend, guys, right, we could not take out this 383.60 area, right? And if you look, we had support from that overnight gap at this 381.50 area, right? So you guys can see that we created support earlier in the day around 10:30, right? We had a bottom kind of put in here. We bounced up to 383, came back down again, printed another bottom right at this 381.50 area, right? Started to form potential base here, right, at this 381.50, right? We can see we created a lot of support at this zone. We swept liquidity twice on these 2 5-minute candles. And again, guys, I'm walking through this trade on the 5-minute because I think it's really beneficial to trade QQQ on lower time frames, at least for me personally. And that's obviously why I took this trade, was a lower time frame setup. And so as you guys can see, we kind of made that lower high later in the day, and then we could not get through that 383.60 area, right? And so, guys, the confirmation for me really on this trade was a close below that gap up support, right? Which was really that 381.50 area. You guys can really see the key level for me, and how I identified the key level here was we actually swept liquidity on these 2 5-minute candles, one at 11 a.m. and right here at 10:35 a.m. And I entered the 378 puts for the following Friday, right? So this was on July 27th. I entered the 728, 378 puts, guys, on QQQ, okay? And the reason that I entered these at $60 per contract, right? You guys can see here's my entry right here, QQQ 378 put for 728 at 60 cents per contract at 1:25 p.m. My confirmation on this was we got a 5-minute candle close below the 381.50 area. Now, in order to understand really where my confirmation and thesis came from on this trade, really one of the biggest confirmation points for me, guys, is you guys can see this candle that we printed on high sell volume, right, at 110. We actually had a really nice wick up off that big support level at 381.5, right? Then we print this kind of neutral candle afterwards, and then we sell down, right? We sell down entirely through that wick. And when we see really large wicks like that, guys, at big key levels intraday, that's usually identifying, right, we have buyers stepping in. So when we see the following candle sell through that entire area of buyers stepping in, right, at 381.5, then we got a close below that 381.55 area. I entered the 378 puts for the following day. So these were 1 DTE contracts at that $60 per contract spot. We got that candle closed below. And then, guys, we had a really smooth fade, right? We hit my take profit 1, which was that 380 level, in about 20 minutes. I covered 20% of my position, guys, at 379.8 on QQQ, so that would be right here. And the reason that I covered 20% of my position there, right, and sold 20% was we did see some really nice wicks forming here, right, where we started to try to put in a potential bottom at that 380 level. However, the tape was really heavy here, and we had been trading in a range on QQQ. And I knew that if we broke that 380 level, that we had a pretty good shot to see that 375 area come into play, which has been a major area of support on the hourly chart here for the Qs, right? As you guys can see on QQQ, if we look at the hourly, we've really had some major support in that 375 zone, right? Because we had our prior weekly low here at 375 as well. And so I knew that if we really started to fade hard, and given the fact that we were fading on a gap up day, I figured we had a pretty good chance to possibly shove down to that target area because that was our prior weekly low, right? And if you guys aren't familiar, weekly candle lows actually provide a lot of support when looking at the overall market like this, guys. So like I said, once we got that close below 380, guys, as you can see, I covered 20% of my position here, which was at I want to give you guys the exact time, 2:07 p.m. So that was about 30 minutes after my initial entry. And I started to cover a little bit more of my position here at 379.20, right? So when we tried to form this potential bottom here on the Qs, right, now we're in a downtrend though, right? We're making lower highs. And if you guys can see, the very next candle, we sold right through all that support that we had tried to create at 380, right? Obviously, we continued to sell down all the way to 379. This was my next area where I started to cover, right? And I covered 30% of my position here at my second take profit target. I think it's really always important when you're trading the Qs, especially guys, to have those take profits set out prior to you entering the trade, really for any trade that you're going to take, but especially when trading short-term expiration options on the indices like SPY and QQQ. I think it is really, really beneficial to have absolutely laid out take profit targets beforehand, right, on any trade you enter, but especially if you're trading short-term, super volatile indice options like this. I think it's a really, really big plus to have your levels marked out beforehand. Obviously, this is my take profit 2 here at 379. Again, we started to get some sideways action here at this 379 spot. So that was my second area of covers, right? Because when we're starting to move sideways, I want to be taking advantage of the trend, right? We sold through that 378 support, and I actually held the rest of my position, guys, for a move all the way down to that 375 area. I sold half my position at 273% here, guys. So from $60 a contract all the way to $229 per contract, guys. And that was in just under an hour. As you guys can see, I sold half at 2:34 p.m. I entered this position at 1:25 p.m. And then, guys, I sold 60% of my position here at 358% in gains, guys. And that was just a little bit over an hour after I entered my position at 2:38 p.m., guys, right? So we look here on the chart, right into this really big flush candle, guys. I sold 60%. And then I trimmed a last few contracts down here. I closed 75% of my position for 394%, guys. So I sold 75% of my position here, 70% of my position for just over $300 per contract, guys, from a 61 entry. And that was when we were putting in lows of the day here down into this 375 area. Last scale was at 475% here, guys, on those puts, from $60 per contract to $353 per contract, guys, in just a little bit over an hour and a half. Absolutely insane and incredible move. Obviously, this was at close, guys. 475% move. Absolutely insane. 2 hours, and this trade printed over 500%, guys. These were 1 DTE options, and that really goes to show that, you know, honestly, guys, I'm not a huge zero day to expiration type of trader, but honestly, when we have really nice range like this and we start to form a really clean trend on a gap up day, I think it can be really beneficial to take advantage of some of the shorter term volatility. So, all right, now guys, the really big key takeaways from this chart here is we had an overnight gap up like this, and then we really took advantage of just that clean break of support after an overnight gap up. Now, this is a setup that you can consistently, repeatedly look for. We get a lot of days where we gap up like this and we actually end up fading. This is a really big spot, right? If you notice, we had pre-market support here at 381.30. And then that 381.5 level was just a huge area of liquidity, right? Where we kept sweeping those lows intraday. Once we got that 15-minute close below, guys, that 15-minute trend was super clean when we come back and review here. So taking advantage of that overnight gap fill, right, back down is one of my favorite strategies, guys, on the Qs to utilize when we get these big gap up days. So this is really a setup that you can continue to look for in the future. And really, again, the big key takeaway is, guys, really making sure you mark out those major key pivots on the 15-minute and the 5-minute, guys, going into these trades and taking advantage of these absolutely fantastic setups on names like QQQ and the S&P. All right, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this trade breakdown episode. Like I said, this was a really clean trade on QQQ with one DTE contracts that printed over 400% and netted over $2,500 in profit. One of my best trades of the month, honestly, on QQQ, and could have been happier to share it with you guys. Hope you guys learned a lot. If you enjoy these videos, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps out the channel a ton. Peace.